Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. It is 7:01. Start with a roll call. Judy Austin. Here. Paul Varga. Here. Angie DeSanto. Garth Bean. Here. Jesse Burnham.
I'm here.
Who was that?
Jesse Burnham.
What?
Jesse.
Oh.
Christina Davis.
Present.
Hugh McKenzie. Esther Jagosinski. Okay, we have a quorum. I'm going to seat Christina for Angie. Communications, I've got two items, but I will put them in with the business on the agenda that they are affiliated with. Public comments. Anybody for public comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to approving the minutes of the regular meeting Thursday, October 12th, 2023. Have a motion?
Motion to move.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, any discussion? Any corrections? Okay,
It was so fast.
yeah.
There wasn't much to it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I will abstain, I was not present.
This is Jesse Burnham. I'm also going to abstain.
Okay. And motion passes. Okay, new business, selectmen's update. I thought I saw Bill on there for a second. Okay, I have an email from Bill Folletti. They're working on finishing up the selectmen's report for the annual report. That should be ready for early next week. They're gonna have the Department of Public Works available at our next meeting to discuss the overages in the budget, which is mostly unforeseen truck repairs. And the legal overages were employee-related legal negotiations, retirements, and stuff of that sort. Annual report update. You have anything for us, Jesse?
Yeah, so we're still outstanding on a few reports. I myself am trying to work on the dedication. I got to get some help, hopefully, from maybe Esther or from Bill Folletti on that. But looking for reports on the Office of the Selectmen, Transfer Station, Public Works, and Fire Marshal. And then also, I'll be talking with the Finance Office about getting the auditor's report transferred into a usable format. So that's where we stand right now. So the remaining reports basically are out of the Selectmen's office.
Okay, great, thank you. Moving on, presentation by the town assessor. I spoke with the assessor yesterday, and since so many of us are not returning in this election, she figured it would be better to wait for the new board to come on and present to the people that will be the decision makers for the next few years. So we will leave it with the next chair to reschedule a date for her. Okay, discussion on updating the 2024 meeting calendar. I've spoken with town administration. They're waiting on dates for E.O. Smith and a few other things. They expect to have something for us to start working with in the very near future.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do we have another meeting before the election?
We have a meeting next Thursday, technically.
Oh, we do.
I don't know if we're going to have it. Business we have for that meeting.
Right, because if we don't have the calendar by then, there wouldn't be any point.
That's kind of where, when we get to agenda items for the next meeting, if there's nothing, unless something comes up between now and then, I can't see a reason to have it. Okay, year-end transfers needed for the audit. Hi, Sherry.
Hello, how's everybody?
Good, how are you?
Hi, Sherry.
I'm hoping everybody got a copy of the year-end transfers. I had sent them. I didn't realize I had to update my email. My email password expired, lovely Microsoft, so it was like I was wondering why I wasn't getting notifications on anything. So I updated the transfer list and I sent that out last night, but I had a couple of emails bounce back to me. So I mean, I can, I don't know if everybody's got the information.
I didn't get an email.
I did not.
No,
Paul,
I have-
yours was one that came back,
What, okay,
so.
I didn't even look at it.
Anna, I don't know if you want to allow me to share my screen. And if you, I can put it up on the,
It's fine with me. Whether I can do that from my end, I don't know.
well, let's see if I can, hold on.
There she
Yep.
is.
Yeah, see it?
Yep,
Can't read
perfect.
it.
All right, let's see if I can. Let's see if I
In the
can,
bottom right, you can usually zoom in. There's like.
But I-
usually like
hold on,
I'm zooming in. Hold on.
hold on.
Control plus usually works.
There it is,
too.
bottom right. Yep, drag that over.
Somebody else wanna-
My other right, huh, Christina? Okay. So. These were the accounts that were overspent. I mean, bottom line, the town is in good position as far as budget wise, but, you're not supposed to go over individual lines of budgets. So like the, legal fees, like, John had reported, for, that was in regards to personnel issues, some issues with Cadle Rock, and then also, looking at the new union contracts that came into play, at the end of, the last fiscal year. Then there was some, the next was the legal engineering, which, you have, the different, agencies that will use, legal advice for applications and things like inland wetlands or planning and zoning. I mean, that was, $891.50. That wasn't a big thing. The next line was the senior center, which is the program expenses. So, that is programs where they have the seniors in your town and the different programs that she offers. But on the flip side, that account is offset by revenue that she takes in for those programs. Then the biggest lines that were over was the DPW. So, gasoline, Public Works, Department of Public Works. So gasoline, which there's also, increase in price. The diesel fuel, there was increase in price. The tires and chains, there was new tires that were put on 3 trucks during this past year. The lubrication is for oils or any grease and things that the mechanic uses. That was rounded up as $75. So that wasn't crazy. Truck parts. So that was a huge line. So that they had to rebuild transmission on one of the trucks. There was rear springs and brakes. There was, they had to install a plow frame on one of the trucks. There was a side box on the F550, and there was a scope cylinder on one of the trucks. Not sure what that is, but it was a pricey fix. And equipment parts. So out of here are parts that they buy for the different pieces of equipment that the Department of Public Works has. So they had to buy some new tracks for the mini excavator, which that was like $4,500 alone. There was service on the 130 Volvo, and repairs to the excavator, and there were some sweeper parts that had to be replaced. So it just happened to be this past year, there was some major repairs to some of the equipment.
Sherry, I have a question on, there was an item for fencing.
On what?
Fencing, 10,439. Is that somewhere in there?
No.
Thought I saw that.
Mm-mm. No, I didn't have anything on fencing. The next item was for hand tools. So from what I understand with that there was the previous mechanic that was employed by the town used his own tools. So the town did not have to supply any tools. The mechanic retired, took his tools with him. So then they had to replace a lot of the hand tools that they use at the shop. Then the next three items was just the agent for the elderly was $65 in wages. There was her program expenses was roughly $300. And then the Region 19 school was $1. That's a rounding issue. So total for those budgets was $71,186.54. So what I am asking to do is there was money that was put aside in contingency to use that money to transfer to, make these lines zero. It's not going to change the bottom line of the overall budget. There's roughly 290 some odd thousand that is has been underspent, and take it that part of that 290 is also the Board of Ed money, so they will be at some point asking for their, amount of money to go into the PA the 2% or 1% account, as you guys have used historically. So this is just an audit or bookkeeping thing on my end to just move this money around and just make so that they zero, those budget lines will be zero instead of showing in the red.
Can I ask two questions?
Yeah, if you go right ahead.
One is, and I think you kind of answered this because you
Okay.
said there's still this 290,000 surplus. But
Yes.
because there are accounts in the budget that were underspent, presumably.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So it's not, so I guess I'm curious as to why we have to move money from contingency and contingency utilities when other line items were underspent, and shouldn't that have balanced it out? Does that make sense?
No. The way they do it.
All right, let's see if I can explain that. I mean, so legal fees, there's only one budget for that. So that is the one line, basically the $19,915, well, $916. That's the budget, that's it for that. So there isn't any other budget to offset it. They don't offset each other, they're individual lines within the bottom line. So DPW didn't matter. It's 44,000 roughly that they went over. All of their lines together, they still would have been in the hole by 16 grand if you netted them out. So you have to take from another line, pay Peter to pay Paul is pretty much what it comes down to. And it's easier when you have two lines for the contingency line. It makes it a little cleaner, just taking one, that one bottom, instead of taking slices from all these other accounts and trying to balance out the numbers. It's easier when you have one lump sum, because the contingency line is one bottom line. I think you had roughly $80,000 in that line. So it just makes it, take it from one budget and then slice it to the, all the budgets that were, the lines that were over.
Gotcha. Okay, second question.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't, this is a process question that I don't know what the proper thing is, but when I see legal fees coming in $20,000 over, that's a significant amount of money. Should that have come before the Board of Finance and you might not be able to answer this, but should that have come before the Board of Finance for us to authorize that additional money to be spent?
Well, it's not additional monies that are being spent. Basically, you have your town budget, is what is $3 million, I'm just throwing a number out there. So that bottom line, actually town budget, yes, I'm keeping out the schools. So let's say, $3 million. That bottom line is to be spent. What typically happens or can happen is that going forward, if I know or Bill knows that there's going to be a substantial expense, then give you heads up. You can do transfers in the middle of the year. For the towns, I don't see that usually happen. It usually happens at the end and you do a year-end transfer. This, I know that it was, due to some, prior to me, that's kind of where, some of these fees came into play, which, there's certainly not anything that anybody expected. But going forward, I mean, if I know, say trucks, during the year, we know, that something's going to be needed to be fixed and it's going to be a substantial amount, and say it's April and there's, only $20,000 left in, the budget. We could say, well, we're going to have this substantial expense to replace yada, yada, something on the truck or an excavator, and it may go over. We can give you heads up that that might be overspent. I mean, you could ask for, the transfer in the middle of the year, but that means you're taking it from someone else's budget to move it, because usually if you're going to put money to an account, you could go for an additional appropriation, and that's something then you go to a town meeting, because Board of Finance can do an additional appropriation up to $20,000 one time. Anything over that, then you go to town meeting and ask for additional appropriations, So say the budget was running really tight and, at the end of the year and you don't have enough to cover all of this, then you'd be going to town meeting and asking for this additional money. But because bottom line, you have enough money to cover it, it's just a transfer between budgets.
So are
Does
we
that-
gonna-
Does that help at all, Christina?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Judy?
Yeah, sorry, I should
Go
have
ahead,
raised
that's
my
fine.
hand.
Go ahead.
So originally, the contingency, monies were supposed to be used for if we had overage in fuel and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just been like lingering there year after year that this contingency never goes away. So now we're using it or actually we know it's there, so we can spend it on additional items. So it's not really its purpose anymore. They're using it for when they're going over on the budgets. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that was a good thing we did.
Contingency, in my experience, you always have a line for contingency. That's something that I have seen historically in a few budgets or different towns to cover for year-end transfers. I mean,
Well, this was originally not for that, though. This was for, because we were worried about fuel costs. And
right, which is, yes, I see, because you had $35,000 in contingency, and then we had then there was what, 50,000 roughly, I think it was for fuel and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, on the bookkeeping side, it's much easier to do a journal entry only hitting one budget line. I certainly can take it from other budget lines, but then it's pieces. You're gonna see, probably you'd see just as many overage accounts you would see the other accounts. I'd be pulling from 20 other budget lines to cover this $71,000. For bookkeeping, it's easier for me to hit one line instead of multiple lines. That's why I pull it from contingency. But I mean, if you'd like to handle differently, then I could pull, I'd be pulling money from the assessor's budget. I'd be pulling money from the tax collector. I'd be pulling money from the treasurer's, but any budget that wasn't overexpended, I'd be pulling money out of them to cover this 71 overage of these other budget lines. But bottom line, it's still 291,000 and change that's going back to the general fund, regardless of these transfers, internal transfers.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying that the purpose of it, originally that's what we had intended, but.
That's during budget time, that may go away next year.
Yeah.
That was kind of a one-time deal. It's not supposed to stay in the budget every single year. There
2
may
years
still be
now.
a balance. I don't think we funded it again. We didn't use it the first year, so it just kind of stayed in the budget, but we didn't re-tax for it because we'd already collected for it.
Right.
So once it's gone, it may not go back into the budget again, depending on what the next Board of Finance decides.
That is correct.
Paul, you had a question?
Well, I was just gonna make a comment. There's two contingency line items, and for those who sat here before, the contingency line item that says contingency was originally in there for legal fees, because we've had experience in the past where we've gone over with legal fees when we do a contract negotiation, which we did. And then the utility one was the $50,000 one that we had put aside for fuel. And also in Public Works Defense, two of those line items are in fact fuel, gasoline and diesel. I would question how much they actually went up, but that's a DPW question, not a question for Sherry.
Right.
Sherry's just the bookkeeper
Right.
and trying to make the books balance at the end of the year, and I don't have a problem with the way she's doing it at all. My questions are for those agencies that went over specifically, and I think that maybe is for the upcoming board to address during budget season, right? So
I'm not picking on you, Sherry.
No, I don't take that at all. I get it. And also, and also for me, I'm learning, some of the mechanisms on how this was put together, because this budget was put together before I started. So, learning some of the moving parts.
Yeah.
We also locked in the price for gasoline and diesel for the whole year.
right.
Yes.
So
I
depending
think
on
it's
when they
more of a-
lock that in versus when we establish the budget.
Well, I think it may be not so much increase in price as increase in use, right?
Yep.
The gap, and again, I don't, Casey's not here to ask, and they transitioned to a new DPW head
Yes.
mid-season too, so.
Yes.
But that gasoline vehicle was a new purchase, so the budget may have been off for that, that's fine, and, however it works. But like I said, I think that during budget season, those are questions that we can ask these departments.
So Sherry, Judy brought this up, on page 4 in DPW, under roads and bridges. There's a 10,439 in signs and signals that we went over.
On page 4,
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
hold on one sec.
Original budget was 3 and we've spent 13,439.
What was the line item?
The line item is signs and signals.
I'm trying to open that up right now.
Sounds or signs and things?
Signs.
Okay,
Yeah.
since I don't have the thing.
Come on.
I know we've replaced the welcome to Ashford sign, and that was like $3,500 or something like that.
Yeah, that was ridiculously
Yeah.
good, but it may have been, I'm just guessing, when the bridge washed out. Carl Mill, or, yeah,
But that,
in the hollow to put up the road closed signs and the concrete barriers.
And
Cause they had to barricade that road.
Yeah,
so
that's why I
nobody-
was scanning for the big ones. That one popped out.
what about that, but signs and signals seems.
Well, I mean, they had sign, road closed signs, and then they had barricades, which should kind of, I mean, what else do you put them under when you're barricading a road? That's just my guess, you know. We don't have a barricades. I'm not sure.
So Sherry, I'm sure you don't know what exactly those dollars were spent on, but the $10,000 overage, and I don't see it in the DPW anywhere on here, so was that covered, and if so, by what?
Hold on, I'm trying to open up the infinite visions here, so if I can.
Thank you, John. That's what I was asking. It was just a big number.
It's not cooperating with me. Come on.
John, can you,
Yes,
if you got the email from Sherry, can you
Mhm.
forward it to
I can. Let's see if I can do it from here. I can't do it from here. I don't have your emails in this. I have them in my computer.
Yeah, when you,
So
yeah.
I can forward them tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll send you an email reminding you.
Yes, thank you, because I've already forgotten.
Far. With that,
No,
Was that
all
over
I
a year
know.
ago? I know, was that over a year ago, Barbara?
It was Cushman.
Oh, Cushman.
Don't blame Paul. It wasn't his fault.
It's not even my road.
It's probably over a year ago.
There we go.
That was, 3 years ago
3.
So Paul and Christine, I just sent you the email.
now. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Oh.
you.
And
Thank
Sherry,
you.
I'll,
Thanks, Jesse.
I'll send you an email with my correct email address. I don't know why.
Well,
Sent the email to her.
it could have been me typing, at 10 o'clock
Yeah.
last night
Right.
too,
Missed
you know?
it. My name, that's what it is.
I'm gonna resend that again when I get home to everybody, just to make sure everybody's covered.
Judy, do you happen to have the account number that you can read to me, the 110?
Yes. It is 110-3200056227. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 56228.
One 110-13200, you said?
No.
110-3200056228.
5622000.
Too many stinking zeros.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Okay, so this is part of another, that line, Judy, is part of another budget. So that budget bottom line did not go over. So that's why, because I sent out a budget report to all of you too, a budget to actual. So that's a different budget line, the 3200 series. So that bottom line did not go over. So you're not going to see a transfer because it came out in the black.
What is the budget it was part of?
Roads and bridges.
A highway,
There's still a balance in that category of 18.
that is
Under
correct.
Bridges?
Okay,
Roads and
Roads.
bridges, okay.
Roads and bridges, okay.
That's why you're not gonna see it as a transfer, because bottom line of that
Yeah.
32,000 series is in the positive.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So Sherry, what do you need? You need a motion to accept the budget transfers
Yes,
from contingency and contingency utilities to miscellaneous overage accounts. Is
yes, please.
that adequate?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we transfer the funds as indicated by the town. Is it your title treasurer, Sherry?
Some days,
Okay,
yes,
it's presented to the board by the town treasurer, how's that?
that's fine.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes. Sounds like.
Garth, okay. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Garth,
Garth,
Garth seconded it.
Who?
Garth.
Garth
Hey.
Bean.
I'm Garth.
Oh.
Comes to spending money.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you. Just to give you a quick update, I mean, I will forward these off to the auditor. They're still working on the audit. I've not heard anything back since the day they were out, so that's good thing, I hope. So just waiting on them, you know, to finalize numbers, and as soon as I have anything, I'll get the information to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Yes, you're welcome.
Right, agenda items for the next meeting. We could easily have the Department of Public Works come if we want to get some last shots in before they're out of here. Or we can let it go for the next board and let them,
In all honesty, poor Casey's probably got enough on his plate and that stuff. I mean, he just took over a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so most of those overages were under Joe and, you know, I
He's
think,
not here to beat up.
right, he's not here to beat up. And also, I don't know that we need to beat anybody up over it, just that it needs to be discussed, I guess, during budget season, right? So
Yeah.
for those of us who remain on the board, we need to remember that.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's some items there that we may need to talk about.
we may need to cancel the Snap-on truck. I don't even know any Snap-on.
That one, actually, I'm gonna ask some questions about that one, yes.
Really, a Snap-on shop?
Huh?
Yeah, the tools were replaced with Snap-on, it says on here.
Should have went to Harbor Freight.
Yeah, right.
Like 10 cents.
In Snap-on, they replace them for life, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
well,
never broken a Harbor Freight, I've broken one. Harbor
Well,
Freight.
it's because you used it for the wrong thing, but that's okay.
Yeah, there's middle of the road though.
Yes.
I've had Harbor Freight, it's great, but.
Any
They
other agenda
replace them
items
if
for the
they're
next meeting?
broke. They don't replace them
Yeah,
if
I
they
mean, the calendar's coming up, but again, like. It's almost
Sort of late.
kind of late for,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to do it to the new board because
Right.
they're gonna have to make some decisions, but by the time they get that information. From E.O. Smith, it may be kind of too late anyway.
Right, yep.
The idea was to give the young incoming people a chance to have something laid out, but.
Yep.
Which I think that's part of the problem, that we have to wait for all these entities to give the dates before and I think every town has the same problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Good intent. I got nothing for next week.
So, yeah, so I don't have anything for the next meeting at this point. I'm not gonna cancel the meeting yet. If something pops up the rest of this week, early next week, then we'll go forward with it. But if not, I'll probably cancel that meeting. All right, any remarks for the good of the board? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
That was for you, Angie.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, passes unanimous. We're adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Have a good
Good
night.
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 Hey, Jesse, are you still there? Oh, he left.
Yep, carry on.
Bailed out. It was funny, the power was out at my house the other